Neel. How you doing, sir?
Welcome, Dave.
We're here at Codestock in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I want to tell these people it's the second day of a two-day conference, and it's 1:10 p.m., so we're almost at the end of this conference.
Yes.
And I think it's going great.
Yes, the only thing I have left that I can possibly screw up is the raffle giveaway. There's nothing left I can
If I screw up, you
point.
mean not give me the best gift.
Yeah, there we go. What was your number again? 1, 2, 3, 4? I'll know that when I call that out.
Whatever number's called, that's mine.
Yeah.
So you got to be happy. It's going terrific, right?
This is going amazingly well. We had 180 approximately people the first year we did Codestock. Last year. And this year we have 376 with registrations. I don't know what the attendance has been.
Wow, more than double.
But more than double, definitely more than double. Which is just, I'm just amazed at how this is spread, and people hear about this and learn of it and then want to come. And the tweets going on right now of, man, I wish I was at Codestock. We had a tweet from England.
Nice.
It's like, I need to get to Codestock. So we're like, okay, next year we'll have an international speaker section.
I've seen some guys who are originally from England. They didn't travel from England. But there was somebody from Arizona, a bunch of people from Philadelphia,
from Arizona,
people from the New York City area. Arizona's probably the records for as long as.
I think that tops even last year. I think our Philadelphia folks might have been the furthest from last year, but it's just an amazing, and the people traveling in. So I'm an MVP, ASP insider. I do a lot of speaking myself, and it's really, really reassuring. The tribe, as we call it, many times, it gets called the tribe, the Twitter tribe or such. We go to their events, we travel to their conferences, speak at their user groups, and then when you host yours, just to see it's feeling the love. I hate to be that cheesy about it, but
sure.
it's feeling the love. All these guys that I reach out and I go to their areas and they feel that and they return that back and they come in and we had 190 sessions submitted for 70 slots.
Wow.
Very rough choice.
Well, I feel proud of it. I got to speak at one of them.
Did you get voted?
Did
you get a vote badge? Did you get a?
I did not. No, I made the cut.
You made the cut.
I wasn't one of the.
That was immensely helpful.
Tell me about that. What was that?
So what we did is the people who register early. So Codestock is it's not a free event. It was $25 when we started and $45. So it's not expensive,
right,
but it's not free. So if you're a free event, you'll get your registrations in much quicker. If you charge a little bit, people want to wait until they know they can go.
Sure.
Now, I tried to combat that in two ways. One was I put a refund policy of yes. Just tell me, you need a refund. It's $25, yes, I'll give you the refund.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sweat that. So, one, making it easy for people to register and not feel like they need to wait to the last moment. Because I don't want you to wait to the last moment, because guess what? I need to plan and order shirts and buy food. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing I try to do is have some benefits to registering early. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and it made perfect sense here, was to allow the attendees who registered early to go through the list of 190 sessions submitted and vote for 5. And then I literally took the top 20, and those were decided by community vote. The attendees that came in, I think at the point when the voting closed, we had about 140 registered. So 140 attendees got in there and they voted, and it was interesting. The dynamic of the vote. The iPhone session, iCode, I think it was the name of that one. Adam Byram, who's actually local from Knoxville, which was so awesome. He was the #1 voted session.
Oh, really?
So the iPhone, obviously, it's very hot because
sure.
it's the #1 session. But Keith Elder's basic talks, 2 of those got in. I think his intro to C# and his intro, what is .NET? That's a session. Intro to .NET. It's 2009. And there's a demand for what is .NET. And the voting showed that, and I think it's awesome because instead of us trying to guess what the community wants to know,
sure,
the community tells us what they want to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And we as speakers, we tend to think that the community is interested in what we're interested in. And we're interested, maybe I don't want to speak for you, but I'm interested in the cooler, newer, cutting-edge technologies, the fun toys to play with. There's a lot of people out there that need the basics, and it interests them a lot. That's says Keith's vote.
Yeah, Keith's vote. I've seen that.
Speaks to that definitely
Directly. My popular session right now that I give when I speak is my Zero to XAML talk, where we start out and we just go from no prior knowledge of WPF,
Right.
and then we end up in XAML. I do a lot of C# all the way through that talk, because I think it's hard to grasp XAML and WPF at the same time.
Okay.
So I rip off Charles Petzold, and I've told him that. Like, I took his book, and I said, that's a session for me. And said, half this session is C#, half this session is XAML. So we can learn the concept in C# that we're all comfortable with and we feel good about, and then we'll go look at it, this alien XAML language, but we already know the concept, so we're just learning how XAML works. I gave that talk when WPF was the new hotness. And, it wasn't accepted that much, and I went to a couple places, and I had an okay turnout, but most were just kind of like, ooh, what is this? Is this for me? Type questions.
Sure.
Now it's requested. When people go and they go to my site, and I say, you can pick from here if it's a user group. What do you want to hear? It's like, oh, we see the XAML. Everybody wants that right now. And so that's just the timeline between when you and I play with the technology, and then mainstream developers start getting exposed to the technology, and business companies start adopting the technology, and people start wanting to hire people in that technology. That then the learning, comes, and the code camp's like, okay, I need to learn this now.
Yeah, that's exciting. So tell me about Codestock. What was your goal? Do you have published goals? What did you want to accomplish here? And how did you meet those?
The goal was 300 people. I wanted to crack 300 this year because I felt that was a great emotional number. I had a great blog post talking about we're on track for 300, and the week after I post that, our attendee sign-up rate doubled. And then I was like, we better make sure we don't tick off the fire marshal, and have too many people. So I had to cap it at 375. I capped it at 375, and I had a bug in my code that allowed a double registration to get in. There was registration 15 seconds apart from the last ticket. So both people got the last ticket at the same time. And I coded that bug.
Did they both show up? Did they both show up?
They both showed up. I coded that bug, and I thought, I'm not going to deal with handling that situation. That's such a rare chance, and it happened. But I, welcome both. We planned for a little overage.
Sure.
We had
the fire marshals listening. They didn't both show up. He's just kidding.
No, it stopped at 3. One person canceled, and that would make that work. Other goals that we had for Codestock are definitely, of course, when you go to a 2-day event instead of a 1-day event.
Last year. This year, 2 days.
That was one of the things when
that's got to be
when I looked to plan Codestock last year.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, back up prior to that, December 2007, we had a meeting at the user group, and Alan Stevens was the president. He was kind of outgoing. He'd been the president for 4 or 5 years.
Kind of outgoing.
And he was kind of outgoing at that time.
Okay.
Because he...
Oh, you mean outgoing? He wasn't going to be the president anymore.
Right, he was wanting to step away.
Like a loud, friendly person.
Yes.
That kind of outgoing.
He's both.
Okay.
He's very outgoing, and
like Yao
he was
Ming
outgoing.
is kind of tall.
Yeah. He announced to some of us that, hey, I want to kind of focus on other things, and I want to step down, because a user group takes a lot out of you. Mm-hmm. And I think 4 to 5 years seems to be typical of, that's how many years as a president of a user group you could have. Now, he took over the user group in the way many user group presidents take over.
He assassinated the previous president.
Well, or the previous guy just didn't show up anymore.
Oh.
Just called and I'm done, unless somebody takes it on, and then you learn from ground zero. So I got out of him a commitment to be a president in name mostly for another year, so I could learn on that.
Okay.
And in that conversation, he's like, well, what do we want to do? And I said, well, maybe we should not have one guy do all the user group stuff. So we talked about forming a board. And I said, if you have all these people, I want a conference in Knoxville. I am, I don't mind saying I'm divorced and I have 2 daughters. And I get my girls a week on, a week off. So I have them 50% of the time. That's important to me. They come up ahead of everything else I do.
I'm a single dad myself.
I cannot move from Knoxville. I can't bring myself to do it. It's not a binding thing, but I can't do it. So I can't move out to Silicon Valley where all the cool guys are. I have to bring that here. And so Codestock initially, my non-altruistic, selfish purpose was to bring Silicon Valley feel to Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And the way I can kick that off was, let's have a conference. And so the goal the first year was, let's make a conference happen. And we did that. And so this year was, when I planned Codestock the first year, I said, because I'm obsessive compulsive, and I have to, anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
Okay.
There's no such thing as good enough with me. I just can't stop. I can't let go. And I said, I don't want to be a code camp. I don't want to be a Knoxville day of .NET. In our region,
You wanted more than that.
in our region, we have DevLink and we have CodeMash. And these are two big events of the year.
Wow,
And they're really
great.
looked at it that way. Like, you plan your calendar around, I'm going to do DevLink in the summer and Code Mash in the winter. And I was like, okay, so how do I get to be the third big event? And I literally listed out items of what Code Mash and DevLink were doing that were different. They branded, they were multi-day events, they charged a little bit, to provide, nice shirts, to provide, a better, slightly better experience than you can get by. And you can do a great code camp for free. If you can find a space to donate, like a New Horizons can donate sometimes in ITG Tech, you can get a sponsor to bring in pizza. You can get your speakers. You can have an awesome code camp. I'm not knocking that because I've gone to so many of those and they've been great. Right. That was not what I'm trying to obsessively compulse into.
You wanted to set your own brand,
I wanted to brand Knoxville. I wanted to give a Knoxville flavor, and that's the Knoxville event. Codestock is synonymous with Knoxville. So this year the goals were to take it to the 2-day, so phasing it in, being iterative. Phasing it in, now we're going to 2 days. But I've always kept a little thing back that I say, I want to do something different every year. And the voting was that this year.
Okay.
I want to try something. The first year it was trying out open spaces parallel to the traditional conference.
Right.
And we pulled that off quite well. We had some stumbling. I cannot take credit for that. That is Alan Stevens. Alan Stevens is the man that does the magic.
He's been on my show.
Yes. So I can't take credit from him for doing that. I can just say I gave him the space to be awesome. That's what Alan Stevens does.
I think that event really kicked it off in this region. I wasn't at last year's Codestock event, but shortly after that was the DevLink event.
Yes.
And it carried over to that, and I think that really kicked off the whole idea of open space in this region. And other events have taken that flag.
They have, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So I tried the voting. I've had some conferences contact me and how'd you do that? How did that work? Mm-hmm. So that, we're thinking of doing that. That's kind of interesting. And next year, my thought is to mix in a bar camp parallel to Codestock.
What's that?
Now, if you're not familiar with bar camp is a response to Foo Camp. So O'Reilly, the publisher.
Is it Foo Camp?
Foo Camp. So Foo, bar, programming jokes here. If you're a Python guy, it's spam and eggs. But the Foo Camp was an entrepreneurial camp. It was a kind of like a code camp for entrepreneurs, for tech startups to get together and how are you starting up and solve some of these problems together and have a day to go out and do that. But it was closed to an invite only. So it was your Silicon Valley bigwigs, your Mike Arringtons, O'Reilly Media, and they were involved, and a couple other big names. Invite only to their select startups.
So the same concept, but open it up to the public.
Bar Camp was the community reaction to that.
Okay.
So that was an open, everybody come. It's got a very open spaces type feel to it. I am not an expert in running a bar camp. Never done it. I tried out. We had some really successful sessions here at Codestock. Venture capitalists coming in and doing a session on venture capital, doing a session on starting a company, and great attendance to that. I think developers that listen to you and come to these events, you guys out there that are listening right now, you're proactive. You have ideas. I know it. I know you have ideas to start your own company, start your own podcast. You want to do something. And I want to, at next year's Codestock, have the sessions to tell you the next step. I know what I want to do. Now, how do I do that for a living? How do I make that a company?
Okay.
What do I go next? And so next year's Codestock is, let's bring in that flavor. And these entrepreneurs that I brought in this year, some of them have run a bar camp. So I'm getting close with them. And Knoxville Overground is a group we have here. They're around this year checking us out. But we're going to work with them next year to stand that up. And hopefully we'll have a track, maybe two.
So this will be run in conjunction with Codestock? Or
Yes.
will be kind of running through Codestock as part of the overall theme of it?
I think it's going to be parallel.
Parallel to? Okay,
It's kind of like open spaces. The core will always be code sessions.
Okay.
Opening a laptop, showing code, learning code. And I just want to sprinkle around the edges some things and see what hits and what works.
Sure.
Open spaces worked.
And what his people are going to take elsewhere, and it just sort of becomes viral and spreads, especially given the enthusiasm we have in this region.
Yes. Is our region special? I mean,
I can't really compare to other regions. I haven't
traveled outside of our region,
else, but people tell me that it is. People that come from Philadelphia, they say that there's a lot more passion here. And
when I got started speaking, there was such a support network that got me from zero to the awesome that I am now. To be modest, when I got started, speaking, I spoke at my user group on some topics because I had to solve some particular problems at work, and Alan was always pumping the user group to say, hey, speak. I'd rather have local speakers than imports. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, well, I really want to talk about data sets. Does anyone want to hear about that? And I'm like a data set guru. I have no problems admitting that, and I'm talking strongly typed data sets. Okay. I can make that puppy sit up, do tricks, fetch. I have worked that out, no performance problems and issues. Now, I don't push data sets on a lot of people, and I've talked about this before, but because it's not intuitive in a lot of things, but so I pushed a lot of things, and I gave this data set talk. And Alan picks up the phone and calls John Keller and says, even though the speaker slots are pretty much set at DevLink, you have to work in Mike Neel. I'm telling Mike Neel to submit to you, you have to work him in. And John works me in at DevLink. And then I get in at DevLink and I meet a few more people. I meet some of our evangelists. And Josh Holmes was the evangelist for our region at that time. And it's like they help me get my name out there. And then I can go speak at these other conferences. I can go hit these user groups. And then I freaking loved it. Then I was like a moth to a flame. I just love getting up in front of an audience. And I love an audience that argues with me. I love saying something controversial.
You want something anybody is engaged, and whether that engagement is through argument or agreement. You just want to be passionate. You want to get a reaction out of it.
Challenge me. Yeah. I could be wrong, and throw something at me. I probably am.
No, you aren't.
No. All right. Well, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Correct.
Sorry. I think that's a show.
You think that's a show?
Awesome.
I'm glad to be on it. I'm a fan of the show, and I'm glad to be on it.
Congratulations on a successful conference.
Thank you very much, David.